Hello everyone, you're welcome back to the channel. This is Uglo Fashion and thank you so much for stopping by. In our tutorial class today, I'll be sharing the making of this cut together jumpsuits. So please stay tuned and enjoy the tutorial. It's well detailed and beginner friendly. Also ensure you subscribe to the channel and like and share the video as well. Thank you and stay blessed. I used 2 yards of vintage fabric and also 1 yard of crepe fabric, though I didn't finish all. After that, I drafted the bodice pattern, that is straight gown, on my pattern paper, and I marked 2 inches before I started the draft. I left 2 inches allowance at the front, then I later started the draft. So from the shoulder point, which is the starting point, I marked the nipple point, which is 10 inches, the under bust 13 inches, the half length 17 inches, and I determined the hip on 24.5. The gown length is 56 inches, and also I added 2 inches for M. Next, I took the tape back to the nipple point to determine the circumference of the nipple point. But before I did that, you can see the 2 inches I measured before the total circumference. That's the 2 inches here. So to measure the total circumference now, I will start directly on the 2 inches where the 2 inches stopped. That's where I will start the total circumference measurement. So for the nipple point, the circumference of the nipple is 36 inches. Divided by 4 will give 9 inches. So I marked the 9 inches. Also, the circumference of the under bust, I marked it. Circumference of half length, I did the marking of all, including the hip. So whatever I used for the hip, I also used it for the M. The hip circumference is 40. Then I divided it by 4, which is 10. Then I used 10 inches at the M as well. And I connected the lines together. And I added 1 inch for seam allowance and ½ inch for ease, because I don't want it to be too firm on me. So I added ½ inch for ease at the side. Next is to determine where the crouch will be, and to do that, I placed my tape on my abdomen, then I take it to the back this way. So with this measurement, it will not allow the jumpsuit to be saggy or to be too firm. So I have 26 inches here, and when you divide that into 2, you have 13 inches. So I placed my tape back on the pattern paper. I marked 13 inches right from the half length. I ruled it up to the 2 inches seam allowance I added at the front. Next, I took my curve ruler and I curved it from the hip length, not from the half length, from the hip length. Then I curved it out. Remember, it's a jumpsuit, so that's where it's going to, the crouch is going to be. So after the 13 inches, you can just measure like 5 inches. So making like 18 inches. The 5 inches will be downward. This will be connected to the thigh side of the trouser. You can see the way I'm doing mine. Just use your curve ruler and connect it this way. Next, I added ½ inch to the allowance. This ½ inch is because you know it will be in pair now. For the front will be pair, the back will be pair. So I will use this ½ inch to connect the front together. I also added the ½ inch to the back anyways. I used it to connect them together at the middle. So I will rule this down up to the crouch measurement. So I picked my curve ruler again and I connected it. Now we are done with our front pattern. Next is to cut it out. I later placed the pattern on another pattern paper to cut the back. So before I did that, I left like 3 inches allowance for the back. That is the middle. You can see the middle. I left like 3 inches allowance at the middle, although I won't be using all the 3 inches. I needed 2 inches, but I just ensured that I have more than what I needed on my pattern paper. And I marked the crouch area, and also I added 2 inches again at the back. For the back crouch, I added additional 2 inches, just like the way you usually cut your normal trouser. Then at the half length, I came up with 1 inch. You know, when you are cutting your regular trouser, for the sitting position, you have to add like 1 inch to the back. So the same thing applies to this jumpsuit. Now I came up with additional 1 inch, and from there I connected it back to the 2 inches for crouch. Remember, I added ½ inch allowance to the front for seam, so I will have to do that here as well. So I added the ½ inch again to the back. So the first one, I just erased it. So I'll be making use of this last one that I did now. Next, I connected it back to the tie, just the way I did for the front. And I added 2 inches. Remember, I used 2 inches for the crouch side. So from that crouch area down to the hem, I added 2 inches for back. And I connected the lines down to the hem. Please note that this is a palazzo jumpsuit. That's why the trouser is this wide. Next, I cut it out. So this is our back pattern and this is the front pattern. Next is the neckline. So for the neckline, this is the front. I marked 4 inches for the length and 3.5 inch for the width. That's because I have ½ inch for seam. So, and later I came down with 2 inches. After the 4 inches, I marked 2 inches and I slant it. I marked ½ inch for the width of that, and I connected it with straight ruler for the slant. I slant it back to the ½ inch and I proceed to cut it out. After the cutting, I took the back again. Remember, there is half allowance at the front also, and I marked 3.5 and came down with 1.5 for the length. Then I connected the two together with curve, shape, and proceed to cut it out. Now we are done with our pattern. So this is the back pattern. I have my facing, and I've also added interface to it, to the facing. Next, I placed the facing rather, I placed it on the bodies and I pinned and proceed to stitch the neckline. So after stitching the neckline, I decided to use this velvet tape for the neckline instead of using button or zipper. This is optional. You can use zipper, you can use button, depends on what you want, but I prefer this velvet tape. I just decided to make it different. I cut 16 inches for the length of this velvet tape and I placed it in between the facing and the main bodies this way, and I stitched on it. Now after stitching, this is what it looks like, and I have also hemmed the facing and the main fabrics together with my hemming gum. Next, I placed the back bodies together on each other, and I measured like 6 inches after the neckline. I measured like 6 inches. I pinned it, and I proceed to pin up to the crouch level. So the part I left will be opened. I will leave that side open, and having done with the pinning, I stitched on it. Next is the front pattern. So I added interface to the main fabric and also the facing. This is just to give it stiffness. The interface on the main fabric and that of the facing are not the same. It's like ½ inch lesser than that on the interface, and I proceed to pin and stitch as well. So this is what it looks like. Next is to pick the fronts together and stitch as well. But please note, you will stitch the facing and the facing together and also the main bodies together up to the crouch length. So to do that, I first pinned it round and I proceed to the machine to stitch the two together. You can see what it looks like now. After stitching, I ironed it open. Now you can see that the interface on the main fabric is not equal with that on the facing. So I ironed like 1/4 inch in, and I'll be placing hemming gum in between the two this way. Now I'm done ironing. You can see the outcome. Next, I place the front and the back on each other. You can see the open part, how I did it. I folded it on each other, and I placed the two together on each other this way. Next is to stitch the shoulder, and to stitch the shoulder I will have to open the facing a bit, then place it in between each other this way, or you can just leave, let's say, the back open without hemming. So after the stitching you can go ahead to hem if that will be easier for you. So this is the back and this is the front joined together. Next is to join the trouser side of it, and I'll first ensure that the crouch align well. I pinned that part together, then I later pinned the remaining side of it together. After pinning, I proceed to the machine to stitch. This is what it looks like. You can see we are making progress. The jumpsuit is almost done. Next is the side, and I pin the side together and proceed to the machine to stitch the sides together. So see the outcome. We are almost done. So to hem the down, I first ironed on fold. You know, I left 2 inches for hem. I ironed it on fold and I proceed to top stitch on it. You can see the outcome, neatly sewn, and I ironed it again. So for the shoulder, for the armhole, I fold it once, then second time, then I top stitch on it, or you can use your bias tape to first stitch it, then you turn the bias tape inside. Now we are done with our cut together jumpsuit. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial to the end. If you have any question, you can ask in the comment section. Please ensure you like and share the video as well, and please on your notification bell in case I drop any new video. See you in my next video. Bye.